Pisces, the moon in Gemini, and Mercury retrograde in Pisces. That's actually coming up tomorrow. Welcome. If you're new to the channel and you're into astrology and the interpreting of energy and potentials, subscribe, like the video. Boom. So first, the sun in Pisces. Let's pull up exhibit A for a moment. Boom. This is a snapshot of the transiting chart. Transit is a very base. Is used to describe the current placements of the planet. The sun is currently in Pisces at 7 degrees. And this is, or it can be interpreted as the ego or the conscious softening. As the archetype of Pisces is sensitive, emotional. It is surrendering, if you will. Notice how the symbol of Pisces is two fish, and the two fish are bound by a string. And the mythos that symbolizes escapism. So dissolving, escapism, the reflection of the emotion. Okay? And so let's go back to exhibit A. We're going to talk more about that. The moon in Gemini. This is the function is not singular, it's curious. Gemini is an air sign, so it deals with the intellect. It deals with the mental functions. It divides thoughts into its different groups. There's dialogue that's going on, questioning. Emotionally, the psyche is processing through conversation, inner dialogue, and multiple perspectives. So, with that, I want to bring attention to Gemini and Pisces both being similar in that they are the end of a season. Pisces is the end of winter in the northern latitude. Gemini is the end of spring in the northern latitude. What does this mean? Well, it points to the modality of Pisces and Gemini. They both share the modality of mutable. It's a mutable mode where it's the preparation for the beginning of the next season. We are at the end of winter for those in the northern latitudes, getting ready for the spring. And so it creates this mode of change. And as Pisces is a water sign, it's the emotions changing, shifting, and preparing for the newness, if you will. The moon in Gemini is adapting through thoughts and processing of thoughts. The psyche is trying to understand itself through language. This is the emotional function seeking articulation. Gemini is the sign of communication, articulation, common sense, reason, and rationalizing. So trying to rationalize, potentially we could interpret this as an attempt to rationalize the emotions and feelings. Now the kicker here is Mercury tomorrow, even tonight, depending on what time you go to sleep, Eastern Standard Time. Mercury goes retrograde. This is big for especially those who get a kick out of blaming Mercury for poor communication and it being a terrible time to sign contracts and negotiate. I don't particularly agree with that line of thinking. I'm of the mind that retrogrades are powerful in that it's a time to reflect and turn inward. So before you make a decision, maybe sitting with it for a little bit longer, maybe processing a little bit longer before you make a decision, making sure all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed. So Mercury, it's interesting. At the time, the exact moment that Mercury goes into retrograde, I think the moon shifts into Cancer. It's at like one something, almost 2 in the morning Eastern Standard Time, and that's significant. 'Cause that points back to the emotions and the feelings. So it's important to, with that, it may be beneficial to pay attention to the emotions in contrast to prior experiences with an event or with a person. Reflecting. Retrograde, the two letters, the prefix to retrograde is re. That prefix re is to do over, to do again. Rethinking, recalibrating, all of the such, all the re words. Rewind, remind, remember. And so Mercury symbolizes logos, thinking, naming, and ordering. In Pisces, logos is already fluid, meaning that there could be some confusion a little bit, going back and forth in the attempt to make sense of information and language and things that people say. So it's important to, it may be beneficial to really, I want to reemphasize the importance of sitting with it and rethinking. The thinking function turns inwards. Pisces is a water sign and a sign that deals with introspective energy, turning inwards. What I wrote here in my notes is conscious reasoning withdrawing to meet symbolic content. Conscious awareness. Notice the sun is in Pisces. Mercury is also in Pisces, and we also have Venus in Pisces as well. So making and distinguishing the difference between what's good for us and what feels good. Quite literally with the moon in the zodiac sign Cancer at the time Mercury goes retrograde. The mind is looking to interpret inner material or inner emotions and feelings. So we're at the precursor to this Mercury retrograde where Mercury is stationary. Okay, so we have the sun in Pisces dissolving, moon in Gemini dialoguing, and Mercury retreating here. This creates ego softening. This is the phase in the hero's journey symbolically where we surrender, soften, turning inward a little bit. Listen to that. Listen to the inner contents of the internal dialogue there before you make decisions. Emotion questioning, if you will. Pisces is an intuitive sign. Symbol as an intuitive sign. So listening to your inner emotions, your inner feelings, this may require or you may benefit from taking a little bit more time with yourself and regulating the system through breathing exercises, somatics, scanning the body, making sure that, or being sure that you're not kind of really tapping on there. The time of reconsidering. Notice how Pisces is symboled as two fish, one upstream, one downstream. The thoughts are, or energetically, symbolically, Mercury symbolizes thoughts, and Pisces is symbolized by two fish, one upstream, one downstream. By rule of thumb, Mercury is said to be at its fall in Pisces. What does that mean? It means that the thinking processes, whether Mercury's retrograde or not, is not the best in Pisces. Not the best, unless it has some support from other planets. And so if we look here, Mercury kind of has some support. It has Venus as a supporter. Venus is behind Mercury, and Saturn is, or Neptune rather, is in front of Mercury. So those two symbols being on the sides of Mercury is significant. Mercury is stationary and it's going to be going retrograde back towards Venus. So we may have a tendency to have these rose-colored glasses on and make decisions based on what what feels good is what comes to mind. Venus is the planet that deals with beauty and what we appreciate and what's easier. Something to be mindful of. Are you making decisions based on likes, appreciation, or are you making decisions because it's what's best for you, depending on where Pisces is located? And we'll get into that. So the psyche enters this reflective phase of individuation. Psychological meaning, and that Pisces is a psychological sign. Reinterpretation, old narrative loosen, if you will. Language becomes symbolic again. Certainty gives way to meaning. So there's some questions that I'm going to share with you here that may benefit you to visit through this next 2 weeks of Mercury retrograde. What is trying to be understood is a question. Trying to understand like what's going on as you're reflecting on decisions or before you make a decision. Like what is it for me to understand here? What inner image seeks expression? And what belief is being rewritten? That's interesting because Pisces is a sign that deals with beliefs. One of the key mottos, or the key motto of Pisces is I believe. So Mercury is retrograde, going retrograde, where it's said to be at its fall, right? So we could lose our sense of logic, if you will. Because it's so close to Venus, we might make decisions based on what we like as opposed to what feels good. And Pisces is a sign. Mercury in Pisces is a sign of symbolism that can be interpreted as the rewriting of our belief system. You may notice that you're a little more withdrawn, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. You might need a little more time. little more solitude, stay out the window a little longer, lay in bed and process a little longer, maybe go for a longer walk, maybe do some writing and some journaling even, not for nothing. Well, symbolically, the rewriting of the belief systems are present cosmologically, because the feelings are more apt to speak, meaning reforms, even ideas and thoughts of belief systems that you didn't know that you even had may surface. Some subconscious undercurrents may rise to the surface. So the psyche is reorganizing itself through reflection rather than acting. Like if we were to look at this movement of Mercury in Pisces in this field of emotion and sensitivity on its way towards the surface of the water and springing out of the water like a fish jumping out of the water as it crosses the 0 point or Aries, the beginning of Aries. Mercury's like, hey, hang on. And it's like, oh, it goes retrograde. Oh, wait. Don't stay here in these intuitive waters and go back towards the truth. Mercury doesn't go back towards Aquarius, but energetically and symbolically, Mercury goes retrograde back towards Aquarius, goes back towards Venus. This is interesting here. Something to consider. Well, you have Pisces. We're going to do some demonstrations here in a moment. All right. So this is the one liner that I have. The conscious mind turns inward, so the psyche may speak in symbols before new understanding emerges. And that's what I wanted to share with you. So now at this part of the show, being that it's a live, I like lives. If you want to put your zodiac sign, your sun sign, or your rising sign, or your moon sign, whatever planet you want to put in the comments, I'll do a couple of demonstrations here and share with you where this could possibly be present in your life experiences potentially. If you're watching this video, the recording of the video, you can also put it in the comments and maybe I'll share a little bit with you in that, or I'll share something with you. If YouTube still has that feature, the voice feature, I really like the voice feature. I can speak it. All right. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscriptions. Who's first? Sun in Pisces, Moon in Gemini, Mercury retrograde. Welcome in. Is Pisces the ruler of the 12th house? That's one way to look at it. In the natural zodiac, Pisces is the 12th sign. And I would say that Pisces, you can look at it as Pisces being the ruler of the 12th house. Leo rising, Venus in Leo, Gemini moon, Cancer sun. Whoa, that's a lot there. You did it. You did it. Let's look at the Leo rising. That's first. That's it. Right? And so the relationship that Leo is to Pisces is the first house, eighth house relationship. The eighth house is the house of, it's an intimate house. And it's intimate because it points towards themes surrounding things that you share with other people. Right? So the question arises, what do you share? What decision are you facing, or what conversations need to be had in your relationships, those things that you share? You may recognize possibly that There's an importance there. There's a reflecting. There's a going back, a rewinding of, hey, I let you borrow my towel last week and I told you to put it back on the top rung. You didn't. We got to renegotiate the terms of how we share towels, metaphorically. Just an example of towels. I don't know why towels. Maybe the water sign of Pisces. I don't know. All right. And so because Venus is there too, it may be that somebody owes you some money, maybe through researchers. Oh, maybe it's not a towel, maybe it's a couple dollars. Hey, I loaned you $10. You said you were gonna pay me the $10 back. You said it was gonna be a week. We're going on 2 weeks here. What's going on? No, maybe before you even approach them, maybe you select yourself and you look at it all the way and you ask yourself, hey, did I even set any terms and conditions before I let them borrow the money? Or am I, there's all kinds of questions that may be beneficial for you to ask yourself at that. Not for nothing. Are you listening? Peace, bro. Welcome. Aries rising. Let's look at it. So the relationship that Aries and is the Pisces is when we look at the 12th house, right? This is the reading, being that we're talking about the Mercury retrograde. You go back to patterns, sleep patterns, and thoughts before we go to bed, right? Or things that we wake up with. I already talked about how Pisces and Gemini are the highlights right now, just before Mercury goes retrograde. You know, before the shift, Pisces and Gemini are significant. These are two mutable signs. So it's changeable. The mind changes, the emotions and the feelings change. So Mercury going retrograde in the sign of Pisces is situating, rethinking our belief systems that we have about ourselves, those that we can even improve. The 12th house is a special place. It's looked at as a place of secret sorrow, but it's also looked at as a place of hidden potential. So Mercury retrograde is a revisiting and rethinking of some of the potentials that are in our life through rest. I must say through rest because the 12th house is a place of recharge. This is the rest, the bedroom quality there. It's one of the most important things that we sometimes miss. I sometimes miss it. So reflecting on your nightly routine, your morning routine, even, right? How you start your day, the word phrases that you say to yourself when you think first thing. Do I pick up my phone first thing when I wake up? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing for my mind? 12th house when I first wake up. Mind, Mercury, 12th house first wake up. Okay. Welcome in. Um, Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. Yes, and systems. Who's next? Introspection. You're fresh. It's fresh. Introspection. I've I love the mind that Mercury retrograde is the third testimony. The third testimony. Like, mind you, that we are in this eclipse season still. The energy is still there, still fresh. Like the new moon that we had that was in Aquarius was an eclipse. And we're gonna have a full moon in Virgo. Notice that the new moon was in Aquarius with peace. Now Mercury goes retrograde, the questioning belief systems, asking the question of Are you doing this because your soul craves it, or are you doing it because you like it? Venus, because Venus is so close there. Interesting. And be mindful, Mercury is going retrograde over ground that Saturn has just covered. So Mercury energetically is in an emotional environment because Pisces is the water sign. And it's in a contemplative environment. It's recognizing that Saturn has been here before. Saturn just left. Saturn's at 1 degree of Aries, but it just recently left Pisces. So it still has Saturnine material there. What I'm trying to say is that it points to structure and discipline as well. So like the taking time with our thoughts, taking the time with our belief systems, maybe doing a moral inventory, maybe. Who's next? March 20th? Oh, you're living on the edge. That's interesting, March 20th. We don't know if March 20th is Pisces or Aries. Let's look, shall we? I wonder if you have looked, see if you're a Pisces or an Aries. March 20th, 1986 is Aries at 5:22 p.m. You always say you're on the cusp. Well, you are on the cusp according to popular belief, but you're either one sign or the other. You're not both. What's interesting is that the time of birth would tell us because the day that you were born, the sun ingressed into Aries at 5:22 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you were born before 5:22 p.m., you would be a Pisces. If you were born after 5:22 p.m., you would be an Aries, and that depends on your location. See what I'm saying? Lo and behold, so we could look at that degree, that cusp degree, and it falls right in between these two planets here. This is Mars, and this is the Sun. What does that mean? Energetically, it's a possibility that you could recognize and feel this fire building within you, this drive within you, this motivation. There's an enthusiasm, possibly. It's possible. It's possible that it's the nature of Aries. It's possible that it could be all of this. It's possible that it could be none of it. And it's possible that it could be Mars, which is the planet that rules Aries, what may be in alignment with your sun. Actually, no, you're March 20th. It's not here. Excuse me, I made a mistake. You're March 20th is close to spring. You're here. You're here. You're right next to Neptune. What that is. Neptune is the planet that deals with sensitivities. It might not be as much drive. It may be more Neptunian influence, possibly. Soul searching, sensitive, emotional, crying, reflecting on the past a lot, maybe subconscious content surfacing. It might even bring a possibility and potential for seeing things prior to them happening. Punch, what some people may call a punch. Interesting. And Aries would backing, I guess that could be one way to look at it, or it could be Aries preceding you. Like you have something that you're looking towards forward to. But lo and behold, Mercury and Pisces is backpedaling, retreating from, was getting ready, it was en route and on a journey to align perfectly with the sun. I would interpret that as a decision making time. But Mercury goes retrograde, almost saying, hang on a second, take your time, let's think about this, let's rethink this, let's rethink this. Mercury retrogrades the before Mercury retrograde, the moon is in Gemini. That's interesting. It's almost like the moon is nurturing Mercury and Pisces. If the universe was talking, if we were looking at this as symbolism that communicated, it's the moon, which is a nurturer, will be shining a light on the intellect and its content of reason and rationalizing. That's an interesting feature. So by rulership, it's almost like the moon is mothering Mercury and Pisces, meaning, or we can interpret that as, you know, the thoughts are all over the place and you're trying to make a decision. You don't know which to take. You're upstream, you're downstream, you're over to the left, you're to the right. And mom is like, use some logic, baby. You rationalize this. Take your time. You know, your uncle was just here not too long ago and telling you to slow down. He was here. He was in this room. He was here. And he said, take your time. Thank you. Thank you. Right. And then the moment that Mercury ingress or Mercury goes retrograde, the moon is already in Cancer, where Jupiter is. So there's a benefit. The moon is approaching benefit. The mom, right, is shedding some wisdom, some fortunate wisdom, if you will, shedding it to Mercury. That's an interesting feature. Who's next? If you rely on your intuition, then this transit and this energy may be perfect for you. However, it still points to and can indicate the possibility that it could indicate the need to rationalize and rethink, not just because it's Mercury retrograde, not just because Mercury is retrograde in Pisces where it doesn't really do that well. But because the moon is powering Mercury the same way that the mother protects and nurtures the child, the moon is protecting and nurturing Mercury, metaphorically, symbolically. And the mother is clothed as a genius, as Gemini could be looked at as this genius student, if you will, guiding Mercury in this realm where it doesn't do well, where it can get lost and led astray in this subconscious realm, right? Pisces is the sign of the subconscious. Aquarius, here, Pluto in Aquarius and Mars in Aquarius. Not too long ago, Mars and Pluto were together. I say that to say that there's an enthusiasm, potential for you to be charged, motivated. And so the relationship that Aquarius is to Pisces is the focus on your worth and your value. Your worth and your value. The moon is in the fifth house. Mercury retrogrades in your second house. So rewinding and remembering your worth. What does that look like to you? That looks like waking up and saying, Roxy, you're worth it. Roxy, you matter. Matter. Notice the word matter. Worth and matter. Two Taurian key words. Second house. You may have recognized over the course of the past week how emotionally charged you've been about all that you've done and all that you've been through. And so the mother, we were looking at this as the mother nurturing the child, looking at Mercury as the child and the moon in Gemini being the mother clothed in an intellectual gown. Right? You're using logic and reason and talking to yourself. That's self-talk. Self-talk and feeling it. You might not be able to get it. I don't know. You might not be able to get it through an affirmation. Maybe it comes through music. Maybe it comes through the rewording. Look at the rewording. I like that. I said that. Reword. Word, Mercury and Gemini. The mother clothed in a suit of a person that is illiterate. I was going to say illiterate. A language, a student of language, student of communication, telecommunication, music. Like, what does that look like? It looks like listening to music that you feel, right? Because they say that when it comes to words of power and words being of power is that you feel. You know, Bruce Lee, what do you say? He said, don't think, feel. And so if you listen to music, I say music because Pisces is a sign that can symbolize music and that which touches the innermost part of the emotion. But the word, Gemini is the word, Mercury is the word, and the scripture and the script and how you speak the lyrics of your music and exchange it for words that empower you. You can switch the words if you want. You can switch the words in a song. It could be a love song of someone talking to somebody else. You can fashion it for you to be talking to yourself. If you wanted, you could be a, a linguist, musical linguist to reshift and shape words to fit your own liking for empowerment, to acknowledge your worth and value. Aquarius and Pisces. Who's next? We're doing demonstrations. You'll have to rewind. For this guy here, you have to rewind this video to see what I said about the Sun in Pisces, Moon in Gemini, Mercury retrograde. Now we're doing demonstrations. Thank you so much. If you'd like to support the channel or anything, check the bio. Be sure to check the bio. Check it out. Who is next? It's interesting. There's tension between Pisces and Gemini naturally because they're 90 degrees from one another, but they are both family members. They're a type of family member that they'd have disagreements with each other, but there's so much growth between the two of them. So much growth between the two of them. What does that look like? Well, energetically and interpretively, it indicates that our belief systems are challenged by our thought and our everyday system, right? But it's interesting here because at the same time that Gemini and Pisces are challenged with belief and our thought processes, the moon is empowering and encouraging Mercury in Pisces. So it's almost like it's saying for our words and for us to utilize words to nurture ourselves, to uplift our belief system. That's an interesting feature there. That's an interesting feature. And so, in that, Pisces is a sign that indicates the subconscious and the psyche and the psychological contents. It's even that much more important it could be beneficial for us to put us in a state of regulation where we're composed and calm, grounded, especially if sometimes some contents from the past come to surface. Does that make sense? Are you with me? Cancer. I didn't even see Cancer. I seen you earlier, but I just scrolled back. Are you still here? Cancer? Cancer is here. Cancer is here. And the relationship between Cancer and Pisces is a first house, ninth house relationship. So it's you and how you engage with wisdom, philosophy, religion, even. This is a double testimony points to religion and spirituality, or belief systems and philosophies, if you will. Mercury retrograde is a rethinking and or using logic and rationalizing philosophies that you can utilize that work with you that work for you, possibly, and how you engage with other people, how you speak about your belief systems and what you believe in, even. And the moon in Gemini, right, in your 12th house, kind of points to your confidence, potentially. You being confident in yourself and secure in your ideas and your thought process around your philosophies and your belief system. And I say that because the moon in Gemini before Mercury goes retrograde. When Mercury goes retrograde, the moon will be in Cancer. So it'll be in the same sign as your sun sign when Mercury goes retrograde. So that has to do with your emotion, that has to do with growth as well. And you learning more about philosophy and religion or how you feel about religion. So the moon in Gemini, just before that happens, just before that happens, as someone comes in here with Jesus face, look at that. Look at that. Perfect. And someone comes in here with esoteric nonsense. Look at that. Philosophies. Are you confident in that? Right? Because sometimes people come and they disagree with it. They disagree. Right? And it's okay. It's okay for someone to disagree with that. That's fine. That's certainly okay. Welcome in. Um, thank you for the likes. If you'd like to be a part of the live, you can share what your zodiac sign is, and you'll see exactly or generally or potential energy God has in store for you energetically. Right? As we attempt to make sense of signs and symbols. So interesting, the timing. Okay? The timing. And you don't even have to be a religious person, even. If you know about philosophy, the ninth house also has to do with um, schooling and learning. I don't know if you recognize how you've been looking at with the potential possibility that you may be looking at your schooling, you're learning what you've learned, you may be picking up another class. May not be going back to a 4-year school. You might be picking up a trade or going back over some schooling that you've had prior to this point to reincorporate it into your life. Like Mercury retrograde, or we're reviewing and remembering information that we've learned. Welcome in. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the subscriptions. Thank you for the comments. All of you. I appreciate you. It's all part of it. I appreciate you. A lot of mercy. Sag, Sun, Taurus, Moon, Aquarius, rising. You're welcome. Thank you for being thankful. I appreciate that. So the combination of Sag Sun with the Aquarius rising. The Sag Sun and the Mercury retrograde points to your living circumstances, possibly, potentially. There's a reviewing, and a recalibrating, and a rethinking, and a reprocessing of circumstances and matters within the home. And the Aquarius rising part is a rethinking, and being reminded of your value. So values, your values, what you're worth, and your home life. The values in the home, the values of family, even right? Using logic and reason and rationalizing through conversations, if you will. You know, being a voice that comes from a place of calm, sensing, like Pisces is the zodiac sign that symbolizes belief systems, but it also symbolizes our inner emotion, our inner feelings, where we sense, like reading the room, you know, like if someone's having a calm conversation in the living room, you know, how do you come in there? Do you come in there stomping your feet and screaming vulgarities? Or do you read the room? Do you sit down? You mind if I join the conversation? Yes. The courtesy and the respect um, is in the read. Too. It's interesting how Mercury, the planet of communication, is in the sign of sensitivity and feelings and emotions. And it's so close to Venus, which is the planet that has to do with relating to others, social, being social. Goes back to social skills, not for nothing. That's pretty interesting. It goes back to being reminded that you matter. You know, it's an in that this Mercury retrograde is the reshaping of one's belief systems, an opportunity to realign yourselves back to your power before the shift in 23 days. Okay. So that's what I have for you today. I look forward to sharing more on the channel about the transits in your chart. Stay tapped in, and I'll see you in the next video.